Good morning. Today's the feast day, May 3rd, of St. Philip and St. James. So, St. James, we're referring to St. James the Lesser. So, there's two apostles. James, who's the brother of John, he's one of the, what I like to call the big three, Peter, James, and John, who go with Jesus to the transfiguration, who are with Jesus privately in the agony in the garden. But this is not the St. James we're celebrating today. He has his own feast day. This is what we call, in the tradition of the church, James the Lesser. Why the Lesser? Because he's really not spoken much about in the Gospels except having his name mentioned, okay, as part of the list of the 12 apostles that Matthew and Luke give us in the Synoptic Gospels. So we're celebrating the feast day of St. James, who has no lines, has no other actions in the gospel except being grouped with the other 11. So we won't talk about him too much today. We'll focus more on the other saint, St. Philip, who has, I think, three mentions of Philip either saying something or doing something in the gospel passage. First of all, they're linked together for today's feast day because it was believed to be in about 500 AD. Both their relics were brought to the city of Rome. So that's why the church in its tradition links these two saints together, St. Philip and St. James. But Philip himself, the name Philip is a Greek name. So it's believed to be that Philip had some Greek influence, or he could have been Greek himself, which again would have been very fascinating in the sense that, he wasn't a Jew, he wasn't an Israelite. Maybe he was partially, but again, the tradition of the church associates, Greek with Philip. In the Gospel of John, Philip, at the very end of the book of signs, so that transition from the book of signs to the book of glory, which is chapters 12 to 13 in the Gospel of John, at the very end of chapter 12, Philip goes to Andrew and says that there are some Greeks that want to see Jesus. And Andrew then goes and tells Jesus this, that some Greeks want to see Jesus. And Jesus says, now my hour has arrived. Okay, so again, that transition from the book of signs to the book of glory. So Jesus in the book of signs keeps mentioning about his hour, but his hour not yet coming. But once the Greeks want to see him, once the Gentiles want to see Jesus, now Jesus sees this as, okay, now it's time to show forth the glory of the Father, which he's going to do definitively through the Paschal mystery. But there's two other mentions of Philip in the, I think both again in the Gospel of John. One is at the multiplication of the loaves and the fishes. Jesus asked the apostles the question, how are we going to feed these large group of people? And it's Philip who kind of says, along the lines of, here's a kid, with 5 barley loaves, 2 fishes, but how are we going to feed this many people? Okay, so that's Philip kind of seeing the impossibility of the situation and not having any kind of source of hope in it. Okay, maybe the best way of putting it. I think we can all get like that, where we see something and we see what looks like the impossibility of the situation, and then we say to ourselves, how are we ever going to get out of this? How is this ever going to be rectified? So there's that. And then there's the other one in John chapter 14. We just read this in our cycle of readings for the Easter season. Again, the book of glory, John 14. It's Philip who says to Jesus, show us the Father, and that will be enough for us. So again, Philip, not yet getting what Jesus is all about, and not yet getting the identity of Jesus, and really what are the ramifications of that identity. And again, not to kind of put Philip down. I think if we can just go over our lives and our spiritual lives, I don't know, maybe there's some people there with great faith, but I think for many of us, we don't really fully understand or appreciate the power of God and the love of God. You know, you might say, oh yeah, Jesus is the Son of God, but again, we don't fully understand what that means and what are the ramifications of that, of how God acts, you know, in our lives. We don't understand the love of God. You know, the evil one's always trying to get us to question it, to doubt it, always trying to get us to doubt not only the love but the power of God in our lives. So Phil can be a help to that. Okay, a lot of times the flaws of the saints become the thing that they can really help us out the most, because they went through it. You know, the beauty of the apostles in the Gospels is that they remind us that, you know, these guys also struggled. You know, they didn't fully understand and appreciate who Jesus is, and again, we can get like that too. So we ask for the intercession of Philip and James in our lives and the lives of our families and our friends, and most importantly, that their prayers lead us to the rewards of eternal life. May God bless you.